Welcome, everybody, to the City of Farmers Branch study session for Tuesday, January 7th. Thank you all for coming today. We will start with public comment, citizen comment on any items. I don't have anybody signed up to speak. Anybody here for comments? No comments? Thank you. We'll move on. Next item is our study session items. And just to let people know, and I'll repeat this later when we have the regular meeting, if a particular council member has brought up an item, moving forward, I'm always going to let that person bring up that item first and have discussion about it, and then we will start with the discussion by all of the council members, starting with District 1, moving to 5. So the same orderly fashion should be maintained at every meeting. First up is item C1, review and discuss consent and regular agenda items. I'll start at my left. Councilman Roman?
Not at this time.
Councilman?
None at this time.
None here.
Okay.
Not at this time, Mayor.
Yes, I'd like to have a discussion about J11.
J11.
Catherine Lee, Deputy Director of Finance, Fleet and Facilities.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you. I just have some general questions about this particular item. And I understand you've been changing the fleet from John Deere to CAT equipment since about 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me the impetus behind doing that? Because it seems as though these John Deere equipment has served us pretty well.
So
12 years or
So I will say we are trying to standardize our fleet. So across the board, we're trying to go with the same manufacturer, same Ford, whatever. And so we've been going towards CAT. CAT is the leader in heavy equipment. And so that's why we've been going towards that.
Okay, and so what percentage are we as far as that conversion to all CAT equipment? Are we halfway there? Or are we just getting started? I mean, it's been a couple years now, 2020, so
Yeah, I will need
4
to get that information
you
for
don't
you.
really know. Okay, so, okay. And are we prepared to take over and handle any of the CAT maintenance from our maintenance shop perspective?
Yes, so our maintenance shop they've been going through, it makes it easier for them. So yes, they've been working on CAT equipment. I know one of our heavy equipment, our technicians, he came from Caterpillar previously. So he has experience with that kind of equipment.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, then I'll get you
Thank
those
you.
answers.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Actually, I did have one thing. So I just had a question about J8.
Sorry, it's Perla Tavera, Director of Economic Development, Tourism and Planning.
So I guess when I saw this on the agenda, I was a little confused about it because I guess typically what happens is, we'll have a discussion about certain economic incentives and we'll follow a different process to then make a motion and then it happens. And so I'm not used to seeing it on the consent agenda. Can you talk a little bit about the process and
Yeah, this is standardizing the
Yeah.
process, so we do go into executive session. And then we ended up bringing an incentive, and then we have to file it with 380 with the state. So it's still made public, but this is just following pretty much the same guidelines that other municipalities follow.
So have we already discussed this before?
We have discussed this before, correct?
Okay, and so with the motion that was made previously, why is it coming back now?
This is for the approval because we didn't finalize the amount.
Got it, okay, that makes sense, thanks.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. Next is item C2, present the fiscal year 23-24 fourth quarter financial report.
Mayor and Council, Tammy Zimmerman, Director of Finance, Fleet and Facilities. So the main purpose of this presentation today is to provide a preliminary overview of the fiscal year's financial outcomes. And I want to emphasize that the results are unaudited and subject to change upon finalization. From September to November, we are still paying fiscal year 24's invoices and receiving deposits that pertain to fiscal year 24. At the end of November, we roll our accounting software, and we are preparing from December till today journal entries to do our accrual entries. So there'll be significant changes to these financial quarterly reports based on depreciation, receivables, lease subscription assets, compensated absences, or a pension. We will have the final audited results that are included in our annual comprehensive financial report, our ACFR. So in this particular slide, we have comparative tentative results with the budget to actual, and we are showing we had conservative projections. Most of all of the revenues came in where we estimated or a little bit better. Our sales tax came in at $24 million, in which we budgeted that any excess over $23 million goes to our revenue stabilization fund. We still need to do that transfer. Our court fines came in significantly higher than we budgeted, thanks to our police department and their trafficking. Most budgeted expenditures came in lower than anticipated. Departments and finance worked very hard to get all the invoices, as I mentioned, entered in, and our purchase orders closed. So if you haven't used it, you somewhat lose it at the end of the year. There is showing right now, we have a credit, it's showing at the bottom, and I'm going to apologize, that should be not a negative parentheses where it's a loss, it's a positive. We're not showing a loss in the results. It's a function of a formula that we need to adjust. And this just kind of breaks down our revenue into a kind of a pie chart analysis. Our green bar chart represents our 2023 actual results. The red is our 2024, those are our tentative results. And the blue is our 2024 budget. So you can see that the major drivers for our budget are our sales and our property tax, in which those came in very close to the expectations. And we have, with our expenditures, we provide a breakdown by department on this particular slide. None of our departments have exceeded their budget, and our largest expenditures are going to be in public safety. And we're also showing this in a bar chart format as well. And then we're breaking down our expenditures even further by the type of expenditures. Salaries and benefits are going to be your largest component of our expenditures in our budget. Enterprise fund results. Enterprise represents our water, sewer, and our stormwater fund. It is required to be separately treated with GASB, our Governmental Accounting Standards Board. It is much, if I can put it in the context of run like more of a business instead of a governmental fund or general fund, which has a lot of compliance issues, and you're having, it's not a net profit or loss on the general fund, but you have what's revenue for a business. With our water, sewer, and stormwater, we had about 33 million in actual, and then we had expenditures of about 30 million. Hotel motel fund, And we have some more journal entries to do, but so far, our results are showing that we are going in a positive direction with our hotel motel fund. And this is just a pie chart representing what our investment portfolio is divided between. We've brought before the council before what our investment policy is. It is a very risk-averse requirement for municipalities. So the majority is going to be in safe investments, munis, and we have several other municipalities that offer revenue bonds. And then we have a pooled investment account, a depository account. And then we did recognize that we were getting a higher yield interest rate on CDs. So there's a big package of CDs that we were able to achieve a 4.6% fiscal year-to-date yield. Now, the unrealized gain or loss that we're showing, it's showing a $222,000 loss. That is a paper loss. We hold our investments till maturity. And with that, do we have any questions?
Thank you very much, Tammy. Councilman Roman?
Not at this time.
Councilwoman Bennett?
None at this time.
Councilman Reed?
None at this time.
Councilman Jackson?
No questions, Mayor.
Councilman Neal?
I'm fine, thank you.
Very good. I don't have any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is item C3, receive an update regarding Discover Farmers Branch tourism efforts and events.
Perla Taveras, City Farmers Branch Director of Economic Development, Tourism, and Planning. I also have the contractors. I have Meredith, I have Ann, and I have Nancy. So they will be here helping with the presentation. So we wanted to kind of give you an overall view of what tourism does, and including the sales and the revenue that's been brought in from it. So I want to let you know the Hotel Motel is 3 contractors and 100% funded from hotel motel tax. So the hotel projection has been actually up about 12%, like Tammy mentioned earlier. So we projected a revenue of 3.1, and it's coming in about 3.5 unaudited numbers. So April was the highest in the history of 2024, and that was thanks to the eclipse. So we had quite a bit of people come in from that eclipse. So revenue increase year over year for the last 2 years is about a 20%. So the highlights that the team has done, the main goal is to drive room bookings and increase hotel tax. They support the hotel partners. They've serviced about 122 events and or groups, top 5 room nights, Schneider Electric, Pickleball Championships, Southwest Airlines, thank you council and mayor for that, Glory, Revolution Retail, and then we've also had 13 corporations enrolled in the corporate loyalty program. Future projects of tourism. As mentioned, Southwest just signed that corporate loyalty as a partner with us. We're also working with the Dallas Sports Commission for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. As everybody has driven by the sports complex, we're also working with them with some of the tournaments scheduled. And we're continuing relationships and partnerships with clients, current clients' hotel partnerships to continue to generate the hotel nights. We also have the Firefighter Challenge coming in October 2025. And we have the Korean American National Sports Festival in 2025, and we're trying to kind of spin that to make that a bigger event. So this is also going to include a pickleball wrap-up for the 2024. The event was held on November 1st through November 10th. We held 8 different events associated, and out of those events, we hosted about 28 business retentions with our businesses. The total expense to the general fund was $300. Total attendance was over 52,000. Expense coming directly out of the hotel motel, including the sponsorship, was about $92,937.10. That we were able to book about 1,476 hotels. Please note that doesn't exclude Expedia or Airbnb. Those were ones that actually booked with our pickleball little logo thing. And that's an increase of about 19.8% for 2 years without pickleball. So we want to thank you, Mayor, Council, the residents, the visitors, and all the city departments for their assistance, and specifically the team, because I can't do it. They do it. So any questions?
Very good, thank you. Wonderful job, ladies, wonderful job. Councilman Roman?
The attendance number for pickleball, is that based off of total visitors, or is that based off of just people who are out of town?
That's total visitors.
Okay.
Councilwoman Bennett?
None at this time. Thank you.
Councilman Reed?
No questions.
Councilman Jackson?
No questions, Mayor, but I do want to say thank you to our tourism team. We have an all-star team that loved our city very much and worked very hard to put our best foot forward for the 52,000 people that came to Farmers Branch, not just for pickleball, but for all of our branded events. Thank you very much.
Councilman Neal?
I echo Councilman Jackson's praise for you and the team, so thank you for doing that. I would like to ask about the 52,000 number for this latest pickleball. What was it the year before?
The year before, correct me if I'm wrong, was it 45 to 48? Yeah. it's
Okay, so
45 to
we've
40.
we've seen
increased.
an increase
And
even
that
with a
was
little bit of the rain that we
2 rain
had.
days, correct.
Right, right. Okay, great. That's all
And
I have.
that's just
Thank you.
one event, so yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, ladies. Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody. Next up is C4, discuss bulk waste placement time and seek the city council's direction regarding the schedule of the bulk waste.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Shane Davis, Deputy Director of Public Works. So the challenge we have is, think about tonight. If tomorrow is your bulk collection day, it's bulk week, great time for this presentation. If you had to go home tonight and comply with the ordinance, you had a bunch of bulk material, you can't start till 6 p.m. tonight setting stuff out if you're complying with the ordinance. So keep that in mind as we have this discussion. Because by our ordinance, you have, like as I said, 6 p.m. the night before is when you can set stuff out, trash or bulk. Brush is not included, so we're only talking about bulk. Each day of the week, there's a different route. That's what's shown by this map, the different parts of town we're in. So code enforcement hears from residents on both sides of this. Some people don't want to see their neighbors setting stuff out early, which they understand. But you also have some residents that need some more time, especially on days like this, to get material out. They may not be able to get it out on their own, so they may need some assistance. So trying to find space, 6 o'clock on January 7th to go to help you out to get bulk to the curb is not always easy. So from an elderly and disabled perspective, the code's kind of hard to comply with sometimes. So, and some people viewed some of our previous communications as that they had the entire week to set material out. So we wanted to see if there's any interest from council at amending the ordinance or looking at some language. I happen to live in the city of Dallas, so we get to set stuff out the weekend before. I can start setting that on Saturday when Monday is Thursday. So they give you quite a bit of time, which allowed me to get some help if I needed it. Some of the items we threw out here was 72 hours, 48 hours, but I wanted to give you a range of experiences that other cities have. If you're really looking at someone that's elderly and disabled on times like this, kind of what's fair, and really just turn over to y'all for the discussion and get some feedback and direction. And if we have detailed questions, code enforcement's here to help out. From the collection standpoint, solid waste, we're going to pick things up. Whatever you have at the curb when we get there, that's what we're picking up, if we're able to. So this is more thinking about the residents and is this enough time to get stuff out for bulk material? And I'll turn it over to y'all for discussion and try to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Train. You might want to leave that last slide up.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Roman?
Can you come back to me? Can you come back to me?
Okay. Councilwoman Bennett?
So when you're starting this timeline, are you, I guess like 72 hours, but your bulk is on Monday. I don't really feel like it should sit out all weekend.
Got it.
So I guess the shot clock, like when would that start was what I would need to know. Does that make sense?
Right. And that's what I hear from y'all. What are you thinking? What
Yeah.
is fair to the residents? So.
Excuse me. The only thing I have is with that, what is the chance with bulk items that stuff gets maybe not blown away, but, moved and creates either a hazardous situation
for people, or just more trash elsewhere?
Most common experience I see with that is if it's bag material and they don't roll the bag up tightly has been the biggest occasion. It's usually styrofoam, things like that blow really easily in the wind. Maybe if you had a plastic Adirondack chair, just because of the huge surface area, so if you have a strong enough wind, that could blow around a little bit if it's plastic. But I don't usually see too much bulk being blown into the street. Lightweight brush is something that I've seen tumble into the street over time, but there could be other circumstances, but those are the most common things I've seen in my 15, 16 years here, as far as things that are movable with winds over the course of a week.
And thank you. Something like that could be damaged in the rain, i.e. mattresses, other bulk items like that. How do we deal with that?
So the mattress, because the claw is going to pick it up, it's not, it's already, if it's wet, I mean, that's why we don't handle those by hand. We don't know what's going on with that particular mattress. It's handled by the claw, so they can pick up the weight of a mattress. I don't really worry about those kind of things. The bigger challenge is like cardboard box. If you set a bunch of stuff in a cardboard box, because when it gets wet, the integrity can be compromised. If you try to grab the claw, that may be weak enough where the whole thing breaks apart. So those are probably the primary things. If it's using that as your container to try and help us out, but it gets rained on, or maybe in a couple days, we get snow on it, if it gets wet, those are kind of things to think about too. But those are the ones I'd be concerned about, or the nature of the container itself, if you're putting it in something.
All right, that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Jackson?
I mean, I tend to agree with Councilwoman Bennett Burton is that I don't want to see bulk sitting out on the
Used to
curb.
be when I first
for
got
too
here,
long.
throughout the city, it was every week we picked it up and there's bulk out all across the city the entire time.
Right. I mean, I know of a street right now where there's a mattress and a dresser that's been sitting on the curb for a week. So I understand that maybe 6 PM the day before doesn't leave some people enough time to get all their stuff to the curb, and those with challenges might need help, and that's a very tight window, with which to get help. So I mean, if we're going to change it, I would support, 48 hours in advance as opposed to the weekend before. I think ancillary to this, maybe there's some discussion around, can the city make available the big bags, that you buy at Home Depot or whatever for $35, where you can put a bunch of junk in, and it doesn't end up all over the street, all in the yard. There's not glass shards, debris left behind. It's easier for the claw to grab, put it on the truck. But, I would really want to try to keep bulk from being on the street for any longer than a couple of days.
Understood?
Councilman Neal?
Yes, I too have seen the toilets and the mattresses laying on the curbs for weeks at a time, and I concur with fellow council representatives here. My perspective is twofold. One, I think if just removing the 6 PM time would allow them to put everything out the day before. And those that need the extra time, they know they have some bulk items that need to be put out. They could do a little advanced planning if they need help. Hey, I need to put this out on Monday. It's not just Monday at 6 PM, but say anytime on Monday. If their pickup is, say, on Tuesday. That's sort of where I would go. And the second aspect of this is I'd like to see a little more increased in, code enforcement of some of these mattresses and debris that's been out there for, more extended periods of time. So I would just advocate for removing the 6 PM altogether and just say the day before. And also look at some maybe additional code enforcement for these items that have been out there for weeks. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Council?
Mayor and Council, Christina Ramehill, Code Enforcement Manager. So when we are going out and we are doing the enforcement at this time, our policy just requires us to place a sticker on there just so that it can be seen that we are enforcing it. Unfortunately, regarding the collection, I'll put that back to Shane. But at that point, once we have done the sticker, we have put in the request for it to be removed. But we are also working forward with issuing notices of violations and making sure that repeat offenders are understanding that the specific times of bulk trash, and we're educating the citizens as well and letting them know when it's allowed to be put out as well.
So you put stickers on these items, and what happens after that? Do you follow up like a day later or 2 days later? I mean, what happens? You just put a sticker on it and call change group, or I mean, how does it work?
Oh, so once we put the sticker on it, then we put in a C-Click fix request on FBTX, and then that list goes over to Shane, and then Shane's team compiles a list, and then they go out and they do special pickups, on Wednesdays.
Okay, and are you at Code Enforcement tracking where you've put those stickers to follow up on repeat offenders?
Yes, we are
And-
putting all of those into the system, so we see who is a repeat offender, so that the next step after that is still to sticker it, so that the public can see that we are addressing it, but then we follow it up with a notice of violation.
Right, and how many repeat offenders have you found, say, in the past year that you've had to readdress after you put a sticker on it and it happens again within a year? What?
I can get that number for you.
Yeah, need
I don't
to
have it
know.
off the top of my head.
Yeah, if you could get that, it'd be
Absolutely.
helpful, thanks.
Okay.
Councilman Rowan?
So if we make a change, can you talk a little bit about how that would impact, if at all, the special bulk pickup requests?
It wouldn't. You can still make the request on Monday. We'll pick it up on Wednesday, along with the list that they provide us.
Okay, so really this would be something that would be applicable the week of and then the week before the pickup?
Yeah, I think the bigger issue, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's for bulk week. I think it's the biggest challenge for code
Okay.
enforcement. And so that's what they're kind of trying to figure out. Non-bulk weeks, it's clear. The only day it should be out there, it should be, it's the Wednesdays we go through and pick stuff up. Did I get that? Christina?
Yeah, I mean, I like the, the second option here, because, I mean, I have heard complaints that people would like to put things out ahead of time. In lieu of putting everything out, sometimes they would take them to the collection center, and I know that that's been a change, and maybe there's some resolution to that at some point, maybe there's not, but I think option number 2 would be best, and I think with what Councilmember Neal said, not necessarily stipulating 6 p.m., but maybe allowing a full day in the event that someone needs the entire day to be able to put things out. And then, can you talk a little bit about how other cities might be approaching this problem?
I'm not sure in terms of enforcement, so I can speak pretty clearly.
In terms of the timing, is it consistent with what we're doing? Do they allow a week? Do they allow a few days?
I'd have to go do some researching in terms of when they're allowed to set stuff out. Because I can speak to Dallas because I live there. I don't remember what it was in Carrollton. I lived there before as well. Do you have any? Looks like she has.
Again, Christina Reamhill, Code Enforcement Manager. I can speak to a few of the cities. So in Addison, it's just a call and pick up, so there's no timeline. In Dallas, you are allowed to place it out the Thursday before your bulk week. It only applies to bulk week. And then all I have is here, so just the 2 that I have off the top of my head.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think still the option 2, I think, is kind of the best with an availability to put them out without the restriction of before 6 p.m. And whatever changes result from the discussion here, I want to make sure that there's some really clear marketing plan that happens to ensure that residents know what that change is.
Yes, sir. Understand?
That's it.
Councilman Reed?
Yeah, I have a question, might be a little off topic, but how is it handled? I would assume that the street has to be clear in front of the bulk items in order for the grabber to properly pick it up. How are we currently handling any vehicles that are parked in front of the material?
So our staff is equipped with cameras in their trucks now. We've had this issue in the past where someone say, you didn't get my stuff. It requires someone from the office to drive out there, have a look at the address and figure out what could have happened. So now if there's a reason, if we don't pick it up, or the staff is tasked with taking a photo of it. Usually by the photo we can tell, yeah, there's a white vehicle parked in front of it, therefore we're not gonna pick it up. Or you set it right next to your fence. Our concern is our claw, if we hit your fence, now we're replacing your fence panel as well. So we won't pick it up there. There's some guidance in terms of where you can place your material. But from us, it's really obvious, and so when a CSR or someone else takes a call and they see the picture, they should be able to say, yes, you're right, we did not pick it up. Here's why, based on this picture. You put it under a tree, you put it next to the fence, it's next to a utility pole. The different things where we wouldn't pick it up for safety reasons or don't want to damage property. So that way they can convey when they call in to complain that this is why we didn't get it.
Okay. And then how do we react to that? Because obviously if someone puts something out and someone else unaffiliated with them parks in front of it.
Right. Parking is the biggest challenge because you can't control where your neighbors park. All I do is, if we get a complaint, I try to let Christina know or Mike, the Rivera, the solid waste manager, let them know, hey, we're aware of this situation. We got a call from the resident. Because otherwise, they're going to go back out and put a sticker on there and start the process. If it's their second chance.
Schedule something and,
Right, and we'll just keep trying to go back when we're able, when we're aware of it.
excellent, thank you, Shane.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Jackson.
So Mayor, I want to go back, and Christina, to the folks that put out bulk during unscheduled times. Code enforcement comes by, sees that there's bulk outside of the current parameters. You put a sticker on the material itself. Expect the homeowner to notice that and either remove or call and make a special pickup. But you all go ahead and enter it into the C-Click Fix, and then Shane's group has someone come out on a Wednesday, right, and pick that up.
Correct, yes. As with the sticker as well, we go and we knock on the door and we provide them a calendar as well as
Okay.
education about their bulk trash.
Okay, that's great.
Yes,
But I'm thinking that this probably a lot of times becomes a game,
right.
right? Because you'll have someone put some bulk out, you put a sticker on it, bulk day rolls around, the bulk is gone,
Right.
right? Or you put a sticker on it, Wednesday comes around, Shane's group comes and picks it up anyways. So kind of feel like there might be a way to tighten that up, because there's cost for us to run a bulk truck out
Right,
off
and-
schedule.
And Shane's group will not pick it up if we do not put it in or if the citizen does not put it in. So
Okay.
if it's not put in by us or the resident, Shane's group will not pick it up.
Right.
And then if we see it after the fact, then that's the point where if it's new bulk trash after Wednesday, we'll put that sticker. If it's the same people, we'll start that process.
So I'd be curious to kind of know what's the frequency of folks that put bulk out? You guys put a sticker on it, you put it in the system, and you roll out on a Wednesday for a special pickup. Sort of what the cost of that is, because putting these big trucks with the claw and a what do you call the bucket in the back? Those are expensive to run, right?
So if we're doing it on non-bulk weeks, it's part of their 40-hour job. But yes, I get it, making more miles
It's a
than
four-man job.
40 hours. So they have routes they run every day.
Okay,
So for Wednesday, it's the west side of town, west of 35. Because it's pretty much all new construction, there's usually not a whole lot of bulk out there. So we typically get to that route pretty quick, and so that's why we're able to go do this on Wednesdays. The rest of the weeks, it just takes us too long to get through the normal route to be able to go to 40 additional stops.
okay.
On Wednesday, currently, we can do that. At some point in time, there'll be enough material, people have been there long enough, trees will have grown enough that probably Wednesday collection will come to a stop as well, but that's several years down the road. But yes, there's a per mile cost for the vehicle, but from the salary standpoint, that stays the same on non-bulk weeks because they're here,
Right, they're here anyways.
Correct.
Working, right.
so. But I could try and figure out a per mile cost, but and look at the average number of stops and come up to estimate, but that's,
I mean, I don't want to apply some science here, but every time we put a truck on the road, there's also the risk
yes.
of injury or damage or whatever, something goes wrong, right? And so it's more than just a per mile type cost. And the whole reason why that truck's out there is because someone's not complying with the ordinance.
Well, they made a special request,
Right.
which is allowed.
And that's fine, if they make a special request, but I'm really kind of talking about folks that tend to game, the system a little bit. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
So how much does, he brings up another topic of the cost when the green grabber actually tears up the resident's lawn? Is there something that we, like he had suggested, the bags, that we can make available and make that a requirement? So we're not having to constantly like fix somebody's yard that the,
Yeah, so For me, it's easy, but I've also watched it being done for 15, 16 years, so I know what not to do and how not to set things out because I've watched the piece of equipment work. That's a tough one. I mean, we will go repair your yard for you if you ask us to. We have a contractor. I don't know if we can do a video or something that would kind of show you, don't put like 2x4s. The smaller the piece of material is on the bottom, the more likely is we're going to grab your sod. Think about what you know, the order of you stacking things, but I have to think about that one some more. I will do, yes.
Okay, so if I might, I think some very good points have been brought up by everybody here tonight. Let me tell you what I get the most complaints about, and that is the city not looking neat and clean. That's what residents complain to me about. And the longer we have bulk sitting out, the less clean our city looks. It just perpetuates that negative appearance of our city. So the other thing that you need to take into account here is there's been discussion by this council to rid the city of big trucks traveling on roadways. So, and part of that was manifested in having a consolidated or a franchise trash service for commercial to have fewer trucks on the road. And that'll be something that I think continues to be discussed. So the other thing is that whenever there is bulk out, and it's out early, that is an ongoing source of trouble and irritation for code enforcement, because now we have just added to their workload. So I'm afraid that 72 hours in my mind is out. 48 hours is out, because regardless of what you do, of what this council sets as a policy, people are still going to put their stuff out early and not necessarily abide by the policy. They're going to do it when it's convenient for them, not when it's convenient for the city. So I would be in favor of 24 hours, which is the day before your pickup. 72 hours, stuff's gonna be sitting here for 3 days at a minimum. 24 hours, 48 hours, 2 days at a minimum, knowing that it's probably going to be there longer than that. So as you work through this, I think what goes hand in hand is code enforcement now adjusting their schedule of the areas that they work to coincide with that 2 days before a particular area. So they might be 48 hours in advance, and if they see bulk out, then they can notate it, and the homeowner is notified accordingly. That's the way they do it. I put stuff out too early. They came by, put a big red sticker on it. I pulled it back and waited till the next day. So yes, I didn't think about it. I just put it out because it was the day I was doing work. The other point that was made was the tearing up of yards. And I have put stuff on my grass, on a little median strip between the sidewalk and the street. And I've also put it on my driveway apron. The operation of the green grabber itself is a delicate art, I'll say that. We have some operators that are excellent, and we have some that will get better with more experience. So the fact that maybe some grass gets dug up, I've had that happen. It's not a big deal. I understand they're not perfect, but they did get rid of the stuff that I put out. On the concrete, yeah, they scraped the concrete. Well, it's concrete, and so you just got to get used to that. That is a very difficult instrument to operate, and I think it's going to be difficult to expect perfection from folks when it comes time to remove material unless they're hand putting it in a truck, and that doesn't make sense. I think the bigger focus here, in my mind, is appearance of the city and reducing the amount of time that bulk is out. And if 6 p.m. is not adequate, being the day before, then the whole day before, which means they could put it out at midnight or 12:01 a.m. on Tuesday for a Wednesday pickup. And we're giving them 24 hours, but I'm more concerned with preserving the integrity of the cleanliness of the city and not making this a enforcement nightmare for residents and for code enforcement, because they're already busy enough. So that's my thought. I welcome your thoughts. Start down here.
I mean, I still think 2 days with what I said earlier is fine.
I'd agree. 2 days, that's sufficient.
I was thinking something along the lines of 8 a.m. the day before. So if it's being picked up on a Monday, 8 a.m. Sunday morning, so it gives them the entire day Sunday. That way it's only there overnight, one overnight period. That's my thinking.
Councilman Jackson? Councilman Jackson?
Fine with 1 day, 2 days absolute max. I get it. Some people just may have some difficulty scheduling, have a bunch of stuff to take out there. So I'm okay with 2 days.
Councilman Neal?
Yeah, I would prefer the day before, but I can be flexible here and go with the 48 if that helps. The other comment that I'd like to add here, and hopefully the council will reconsider opening the Citizens Collection Center, which might go or work to our advantage here to help minimize some of that bulk if we can figure out a way to reopen that. I was against the closing of that, and I'm hoping we can figure out a solution that might also facilitate this bulk items as well. So.
Very good. You got direction now, 2 days?
Yes, sir.
You got it? Very good. Anything else?
Am I allowed to make any comments to that, or let it go for now? We submitted an application for another site. So just-
Okay, yeah, I just
as much as I'll
thought
say
that,
we
I
have
thought by
submitted-
reopening something, it might
Yeah.
help this situation a little bit.
So we have submitted an
I don't know how
application for a
much,
different site, so
Yeah, okay.
we're in the process.
Great, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Shane.
Yes, sir.
Next up is C5, receive an update regarding the Oak Brook Water Meter Project.
Mayor, council members, good afternoon. Ray Silvarez, Director of Public Works. I'm going to be speaking to you about the Oak Brook Water Meter Project update. Before I get into it, I'm going to give you a quick update on the history. My presentation is going to be focus more on the water meter aspect, but there's a lot more to this subdivision in the past, and we have added that information to your packet, but mainly I'm going to stay on course with the water meters. So the Oak Brook community was established in 1972 as a private subdivision. It currently operates with 8 shared water meters, serving 156 residential units, along with 3 HOA property yard meters for irrigation for the common areas. In early 2023, City Council discussed opportunities for the city to partner up with Oak Brook HOA to find the best path forward to consider costs, concerns, more with the city's assistance on matters of private subdivisions, including the water meters and water lines as well. During the July 11th, 2023 budget retreat, $90,000 was allocated to fund a portion of the Oak Brook HOA's water meter via the Neighborhood Investment Program, with the ability for funding to roll over using the Revenue Stabilization Fund. Any costs over the $90,000 would be covered by the HOA, but that would be the city's contribution for this project. So that kind of sets the timeline that I'm starting here with. And then as we continue on in the spring of 2024, staff met with the HOA to discuss the projects. We were looking at a 60% completion and location for the water meters. Staff was able to locate some record drawings for the subdivision, and we were able to identify the locations of the existing meters of the water line service via the shutoff valves that were done back in 2018. As a part of the moving forward with the water meters, we had to draft up with the city attorney's help the right of entry agreement because, again, being private, we had to get into read the meter at each individual home. And so we partnered up with the city attorney at the time to come up with the draft to get secure all 156 right of entry. And all those had to be signed before the city would take the next step regarding the water meters. In the fall of 2024, the HOA did advise us that they got 100% participation for the right of entry agreement. And as of December 19, 2024, we have them all in our hands. So considerations, per the HOA declarants, they all have to have this, even though the existing water meter, the shared water meters are in the HOA common area. This is going up into the individual unit of all 156 residents. Again, the city's contribution at the time was $90,000 max. As I did a opinionable construction cost for this project, we're looking about $2,500 per meter to install this. There are some areas where it's going to be in exposed aggregate, exposed concrete. So there will be a section of that pavement that will be cut off to access the service line and install the water meter. Some areas it's in grassy areas, some areas it's in asphalt. So it just depends on exactly where each meter is going. But more or less, what we're thinking this project will come out is $390,000. Now, it does seem expensive for just some water meters, but again, you still have to mobilize the heavy equipment to get to there. We're going to bid this project out. So there's associated fees with doing this project, the bonds, the bid bonds, the performance bonds, and the maintenance bonds that are required per our procurement process. And that's why it makes it close to where we're at, almost $400,000. Still, it just depends on what the market is doing at the time. That will come back and tell us exactly, but this is what we're thinking we'll be close to. Again, I talked about the $90,000 contribution. Anything above that would be at the HOA's expense. This cost that I put here before you does not include staff's time of the engineering plans that were put together, meeting out there and looking where all the water line services were at, planning the project, and then managing this project if we do move forward with executing on this project. Again, the city does remain committed to providing services for all of our residents, and Oak Brook is no different, but we are a little bit of a complex situation here in how we do that as far as decluttering the 5 water meters into individual meters. So the next steps is we're seeking council direction on how to move forward. If we do decide to move forward, we would have to kind of figure out a way how are we going to bid this project out, because I know per state law we would have to have the money intact when we go out to bid to make sure that the project can be funded. So we would have to require something from Oak Brook to provide securement of the funding opportunities there. And so that would be something we would have to work out should we decide to move forward that way. But again, I'm bringing this here before you to seek direction as to how we want to proceed with this project. If we did decide to move forward as well, we would, my team and I with the CSRs, we would be out there with each of the individual units trying to get their accounts established and helping them get those water meter accounts set up so that everybody has the ability to manage and maintain their own water meter accounts. And that's currently where we're at now. So staff is seeking direction, and I'm open to any questions.
Thank you very much. Councilman Neal, this is in your district, so I'll let you start off.
Thank you, Ray. I have quite a few thoughts on this project. It seems that this project's been going on for quite some time, and I'd like to offer some praise to the Oak Brook HOA for getting 100% of the signatures put forth in a relatively short period of time from the summer through December. So kudos to them on that. Yeah, I've had a couple of meetings with the Oak Brook HOA regarding this matter, and I'm a little curious as to how we derived the $390,000, yet we've not put out bids. So how do we know that bids are going to be $390 more or less, or am I missing something in this number? How it was derived?
No, that's absolutely. So one of the ways we do this is mainly based on my background and what my team has done with other projects. When we do water service line and meters, we're typically seeing that bid item come at $2,500 more or less.
Okay.
So again, we just took that item, put that there. It still seems kind of somewhere in the middle. We're expecting each one to be $2,500 per meter. Again, that is including like installing a major water line main.
Right.
With the addition of doing a water service and a meter. So it's not apples to apples, but we're thinking more or less that's kind of where we're at. So it's kind of hard to tie down this project. This is a one of a kind.
Right.
There's not too many public works projects where you're just installing meters only. And so again, given the different types of material, pavement materials that I discussed earlier, the exposed concrete, asphalt, and some grassy areas, it's just going to take, we have noted those on the plans to see which ones they are. And also I've consulted with other contractors out there showing them, hey, if you had to bid snow, when I go out there and ask for them for a quote, they're not considering the whole picture of what it would take to get through the bonds that are required, the additional competition that is going to be out there. So we're getting a quote. It doesn't necessarily translate into what the bid, to what the market would actually translate. So it's why it's an OPCC, the opinionable construction cost. And that's how most of our engineering projects are approached. We look at what the market's doing, what we've seen from previous projects. And again, this is a special project. Cannot be compared to some of our Water Group A projects or Water Group B projects because there's more to it than just water meters.
And so this 390,000 that you derived, is that derived here recently or 2 years ago or?
So
when
this one
that?
was derived here recently from when I joined.
Okay.
Of that price. I know there's considerations of the 90,000 was kind of looking at the tax base rate for the subdivision, and it was 180, and I think there was some thinking that we could do it at the time. I'm not so sure what method was applied at the time, but this is what my experience has told me that this, looking at the market and what it will do. And as you know, everything's a little bit higher right now. So at this time, that's the OPCC that I give, and it could come out higher. My goal is always to be right in the middle, not too high, not too low as far as our.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit concerned because, I mean, obviously it could come in lower, it could come in higher, right? We don't know, but your best experience says around the 390. But my concern is that the Oak Brook HOA has, they have their own budgets, right?
Correct.
And they budgeted an amount some years ago on this project, and as you know, time is money. And it's a little concerning to me that it's taken so long with inflation and all these things, is just driving that numbers higher and higher. And I don't know that these numbers are going to fit any longer real well with the Oak Brook HOA and what they've budgeted and how they've allocated. So I'd like to see us get moving on this.
Okay.
If I can be the will of the council to do that. I just think it's taken far too long, and the longer it takes, the costs are going up. And I don't know budget-wise if it's going to work for the Oak Brook HOA as well as us here at the city and our aspects of that. So,
And Councilmember Neal, you're correct. I mean, it could come in lower. I'm hoping it does. This is something that I would love to do. I'm trying to steer away from it, but it's just I got to be upfront with where I think it's going to land based on our experience.
So, this project's been out there in the ether here for a while now. Has the city purchased the water meters yet for this project, or do we have enough available for the project?
So that's a good question. That's one thing I did forget to mention. We will include the water meters here. We do have as a stockpile to take care of the 13,000 water meters that exist currently. We do have a pile that we do to replace, and if one were to get broken or if we were to check a water meter and needed to be replaced, we do have some ready to go in our inventory.
So do we have 156 water meters available for this project yet?
I believe we do, sir.
Okay.
And so we could take that and replenish our stockpile later on.
Okay. Okay. And as for the legal paperwork that you mentioned, where do we stand on that? Is that in process? Is it completed? And how long will that take?
So the legal paperwork for the right of entry is been completed. We have all 156 signatures. We'll just have to execute it on our side. That shouldn't take too long to complete that. The next step would be to sign an agreement should we decide to move forward with the HOA to kind of dot our I's and cross our T's as far as how payment and what we're going to be doing to move forward. And in working with the city attorney, that doesn't seem like it will be a problem or should slow us down moving forward because it'll be
I'm just trying to get a timeline here so there's some additional legal work to be done, And I'm just trying to find out how much time that takes and when that could be complete. Again, I'm trying to move this project. If we're
So we have a draft version to the HOA as well, too, that Victor compiled, and they're looking at it right now as well.
Okay, so it should be minimal, if any,
It should be
delays,
very
not-
minimal.
not
That's
gonna be
why
a
we
couple
give them
months.
ahead of time.
Okay, okay.
And I believe we sent it to him sometime a few weeks ago, right?
I think we did right before Christmas, the week of Christmas, we sent it towards them to start reviewing it to make the process more smoother.
So you have at least a draft out to them at this point for review?
Yes, sir.
So, okay. And or do we have an expectation on when we'll get feedback from them? Have we given them a time? Hey,
They,
get back.
yes, they wanted at least 30 days to review it. Again,
Okay.
December throws in kind of with the holidays and everything, but that's what they wanted was 30 days.
Okay, okay. And if it is the will of the council here to move forward on this project, when will this go out to bid? And how much timeline and duration do we allow for the bidding process before we make a selection?
If we were to move forward, we would finalize the plans, give about a week or two, and then start advertising. Our advertising minimum is 2 weeks to get the bids out there. So we're looking at that process about 30 days to get it advertised, open the bids, check the references on whoever the low bidder is, approve that contractor, execute the contracts with them, bring that here before you. So we're looking at 30 to 60 days to get that ready to go to where the contractor can mobilize and start his work.
Okay, and what about the engineering and project planning work and effort? Where do we stand on that? Have we done all the engineering work that's needed? Is there additional that needs to be done? And secondly, how much additional time would it take to get the final engineering plan sort of together for the project?
So the engineering has been done by my department. We have that completed. We're just waiting to finalize it here, depending on where we go. And so, like I was saying, that it only take a couple weeks to get that number finalized, get all the bid items in our project documents, get that executed and out to bid. So it's not minimal time as well on that one.
Okay. How are we planning, if at all, to handle any cost overruns? If you get out there, you start to work on something, you find something you weren't expecting. I mean, how are we going to address that?
So this is a straightforward project. We shouldn't expect that, but there's always a tendency for things to go unaccounted for. One of the things being that it's a simple run, we'll look at what the situation is and work with, again, we've done so many of these projects. We do, since the city is contributing a little bit of the funding here, we would kind of help out as well with my operations staff to help out, to absorb some of that cost so that there's not much overrun. Can we keep it within the department?
All right. So correct me if I'm wrong here, maybe I'm missing something, but it sounds like we have the meters ready to go if we need them. And with some of the dates and timelines you're giving me, if this moves forward within the next 30 to 60 days, we could start moving dirt, so to speak.
Correct. Yeah, we were thinking, given the timeline based on this conversation, we would do construction in April, should it be approved.
Okay. All right, great. That's all I have for the moment, but I might want to come back to me.
Very good. Thank you. Councilman Roman?
I mean, I think this is an important project for the residents who are in that area, and I think it's important that we continue down the path that we were on and fulfill the promise that the city made to them.
Councilwoman Bent?
I agree with Councilman Roman. My concern is 90,000 max for us, leaving them with 300,000 because time kills all deals and it costs money. Do we know that they have 300,000 to contribute to this?
So, I haven't got, when we sat down and met with them, they were a little bit concerned about the costs, but I believe they have the money to do it. Of course, it was a sticker shock for them to do it, to see this new number here. And also, based on what they want to do, yes, they wanted to keep it low. They wanted to make sure that the numbers were double-checked and ready to go. But I believe they do have the fundings necessary to move forward.
Then I'm supportive.
Councilman Reed?
Question on considerations. It says cost does not include staff's time spent in project planning, management, and execution. Is that something that will be folded into the cost, or is that something that the city is absorbing the expense of?
So that's something we're absorbing the cost to add value to it here. As you've seen before in previous engineering designs that I bring before you, we're talking $100,000, $200,000 for design. And so being that this subdivision's back from the 1972 and how complicated it could be, but we've done some work in it in the past. We have some idea where it's at. We're saving them by doing our own engineering design and doing the project management of this project here.
So in the end, the city is actually contributing more than just.
So we're contributing more than $90,000, yes,
to
per the,
Right, okay.
the service we're doing.
Yeah, and I agree, it's important for the residents there, so we can move forward. My opinion, yeah, we should move forward.
Councilman Jackson?
No questions.
Councilman Neal?
Just to follow up a little bit with Councilwoman Bennett Burton, I've had discussions with the treasurer there at Oak Brook HOA, and they have not allocated $300,000 in their budget for this. They were in the $125,000, $150,000 range, and so now it seems as though the expectation may be double that, and I can't speak for them, but it seems that might be a little challenging for them. So I don't know if we have any recourse in additional assistance for them or not, but that's the latest conversation I had with them yesterday, is that it's a little more than double what they had expected budgeting-wise from 2 years ago when they were getting this project going, so.
Absolutely. One of the things in our discussion, they did talk about that, and they said that they couldn't go more than about 300,000 is what they were looking at when I spoke with them, because we did tell them that it was going higher from what it was expecting. When originally, when I was looking at it from the first time I saw the project, without even going looking at it, we were talking somewhere about $450,000, and they were saying that that was not doable for sure. They did say that about 250 to 280 is what I remember from our meetings that we had on the onset when I got here.
We might need to revisit that quickly. I just met with them yesterday evening and. see
Councilman,
how
let me
they
ask a
go.
question. Did she tell you what they had in the reserve account?
They told me what they had budgeted for this.
Did they tell you what they had in the reserve account?
They did not tell me.
Okay. So back when, before any of y'all were here, we did the street project where we repaved 3 of their streets for them, and we did all the engineering work and whatnot. The city contributed an amount of money to that project, and Oak Brook had to pick up the tab for some sewer line work that went in conjunction with that. Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, but I sat in meetings with their HOA where they were actually required to establish an additional $50 a month assessment for the street project and an additional assessment each month to go into a reserve account to help them build up to $1 million reserve account. So this, as you say, has been something that's been going on for years, multiple years. And in my mind, the taxpayers of the city of Farmers Branch have been pretty generous in contributing $90,000 plus to this project, because if you put the value on the engineering and project management, like we did for the street project where we did all of that, that was probably at the time another $300,000+ that the city contributed hard cost to city in terms of time, not to the HOA in terms of dollars out of their pocket. And we're looking at a very similar situation here. This has taken a long time because of a multitude of factors, and I get it, but this is something that they've been planning for years, and unfortunately, it's taken this long. So I'd like to see us get this thing done and approved, I don't know, I can't speak for council whether there's an appetite for revisiting the dollar figure. That's something that you would have to ask to have brought back up.
I think that's I think it's an important discussion to have, but I think first we need confirmation of what they are able to contribute. So would it be possible to maybe go back to them and have kind of a meeting of the minds and figure out what is that number for them, and then have that put in writing so that there's no confusion about who said what and whatever, and then we can have a discussion. I want to support this, and I want it to move forward. And I think in terms of the cost, it's similar to, I think, some of the other commitments we've gotten ourselves into with the city, with parks and any other projects. Sometimes they run over. And so we'll have to figure out what cost we might be responsible for. And then if we're willing to pay for that cost. But in order to figure that out, we need that number from them. So maybe, would it be okay if we maybe got that information and then came back at maybe the next meeting and talked about it and figured out if we're good to move forward? I mean, I think I don't think anything should stop. I presume that we might arrive at a decision that will be satisfactory for all parties, but I want to make sure that we don't lose progress between now and the next meeting as well.
Sure, we can definitely do that. We'll set up a meeting to where they can give us some kind of number not to exceed on their part, because again, it is a fluid process as far as what the timing of the market and everything goes. So we can look at that and see if we can get a number written from them as to what is the maximum they're willing to go to. Because there was discussed that a little bit, but at the time, the numbers were kind of floating based on what was going on at the time.
And Councilmember Neal, is that okay with you?
I have that number, not in writing, but I have it verbally after meeting with them yesterday. The number was 200,000. Now, they did talk about a contingency fee of 750,000 that was required by the city for infrastructure, not $1 million. So I don't know if that has an impact or not, but the number they shared with me verbally yesterday was 200,000. So it looks like we have a net difference at this point of 100,000. So we need to figure out.
Yes, and that's why I said
where do we
maybe.
go from there? And if the bids come in lower, then that's even better. I don't know. So.
Correct, yes, and I'll definitely do that. Again, we'll go with the not to exceed number so that, to give us some flexibility during the bid process as well.
If we need that in writing, I'm sure they'd be willing to put something like that together, but then we might have to be creative on how we can still move the project forward. So, okay.
All right. So I guess the consensus here is to wait, let you go back and have additional conversation with them, and then come back to council for final action.
Will do. Sounds good.
So we're still waiting. We're still in the process of some legal feedback, right, that we're waiting for them.
Correct.
Again, I don't want to be delaying any further if we don't have to, but a couple of weeks is probably okay, but I just don't want to.
I would say as it relates to any kind of legal terms, the way we've set it up in the participation agreement, it's pretty much plug and play with just the numbers, and any other legal terms can be done simultaneously.
Right, I was just trying to,
negotiations.
let's take advantage of this time that we've allowed them to review the legal aspect to derive this real number that they don't want to exceed, which I think is 200,000, but again, I don't have that in any sort of writing official manner.
Yeah, we'll schedule a meeting with them quickly as that's floating with them, with their attorney looking at that agreement, and we'll get that number finalized, written down so that we can work with that.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Of course.
Mayor and Council, this has been a robust discussion over multiple years. One thing that helped with the numbers was in 2022, the council had requested their financials, so that way you can understand what's for yourselves if you'd like to see that. We can make that request again as staff, so you have that information to have a deeper dive into that discussion, budget versus fund balance versus revenues, expenditures. You can see that if you would like it. We've asked for it in the past and received it. If y'all would like an updated one, we can do that if that helps. If not, no worries.
May I? So the difference, Councilman Neal, is 40 meters. That's where we're off, is 40 meters. So at 156 meters, that's $390,000, given the math. So if you look at and reverse math it, there's 40 meters. So if we have the meters, is there a way for us to work that out internally?
Ray, why don't you take that under advisement, and you can study that and come back, bring all that information back when you come back.
Will do.
Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, I'm going to read us into an executive session, and then we will break to go into city manager's conference office for that. First item of executive session will be the city will convene into closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Section 551.087, to discuss economic incentives for Project Eagle. D2, the city will convene into closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.087, to discuss economic incentives for Project 6B. Item D3, the city council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, legal consultation regarding items on the agenda on or for the matters in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct and the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with Chapter 551 of the Texas Code. We will go do that now, and then we will be back here at 6 o'clock. Thank you.